I probably don't have to tell you that being fully present in any given moment is hard. I think about that small ache, the out-of-place puzzle piece, those tasks I haven't completed, my incessant worry about the world, and even the resistance that keeps me from living into the fullness of who I want to be. All those aggravating slivers that offer distraction. Anytime the subject of presence comes up, I am reminded of a 4-year-old boy named Willie. I lived in a cooperative housing situation for a while, and Willie was a member of my home. Willie was energetic, outgoing, very precocious, and tenderhearted. One afternoon, I was sitting on the back deck reading something on my phone when Willie bounded out of the door like Tigger and landed right in front of me. "LB, I made up a dance." And he proceeded to tell me how he went about creating this dance. And I would look up from my phone every few seconds. "Wow, that's great, Willie. It's so creative." "LB, look at the dance." And then he started dancing all around me. And again, I would look up from my phone, half acknowledging him, until he landed right in front of me. "LB, do you care about my dance?" My heart broke a little in that moment. I put the phone down. "Yes, Willie, I do care about your dance. Can you teach me?" The myriad of outside influences, such as technology, social media, the endless to-do lists, are all common distractions, but I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to connect with those I love because I've gone down a social media rabbit hole for hours. And it's not just outside influences that pull us away from the present moment. Our brains have evolved and are designed to think, evaluate, and assess our surroundings to keep us safe. The actual function of the brain also makes it difficult to be fully present. And we all experience ruminations of the mind. My mind can concoct a narrative that I am in conflict with a friend based on some comment they made in a prior conversation. So then I think about and create all these meaningful things I'm going to say to that friend, even though I'm not really in conflict with that friend. I'm anticipating some made-up possibility. And I know I'm not the only one who does this, so if you can relate, please give a shout out in the chat. I don't want to live this way. I want to, as the opening reading states, arrive fully into the wide open clearing of what is real. And that requires presence. So how do we do it? How do we be present? Well, we practice because it requires a retraining of the brain. Mindfulness practices such as yoga and other forms of meditation are lifted up most often as tools for helping us in this pursuit. And as a longtime yoga instructor and meditation teacher, I can attest to the effectiveness of these practices in helping me manage what is often termed monkey mind, the propensity of our minds to swing from one thought to the next, constantly finding multiple tangents, creating this symphony of thoughts in our heads. And I used to think that monkey mind was bad, that I was somehow flawed for having it. But again, this is how our brain is created. Mindfulness practices have helped me develop the awareness of when my mind is not present, and to be in an observational versus judgmental relationship with those thoughts when they arise. And when I am consistent, when I am practicing my mindfulness practices, I notice that I am more able to be responsive to anything that arises in the present moment rather than just simply reactive. There is another mindfulness practice that I have found useful in being fully open to what is present, to what is real. But it requires a retraining of the heart, and it takes more courage. It's not a coincidence that the root of the word courage, cor, is the Latin word for heart. And I'm referring to the practice of making life sacred. Last summer, I stood here and spoke of my spiritual partnership with the Reverend Kim Mason, senior minister of the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. For more than 11 years now, we have committed to a 1-hour phone call every week. And we simply ask each other 2 questions. How is your spirit? And where have you experienced the divine or sacred? The first question offers an opportunity for a general check-in, those things affecting our spirits and how we are feeling. We often process for the first time that week certain events that have brought us joy, pain, excitement, or challenge. Inevitably, we offer each other affirmation or a different perspective or just a much-needed long-distance hug of support. The second question helps keep us on track. Where have you experienced the divine or sacred? Those weeks when we cannot find an answer to that question, we know it's time to slow down and allow ourselves to be more present to our worlds. What a gift this partnership has been. As the depth and breadth of my understanding of the sacred has expanded. The sacred is certainly what I hold dear, what I love, and it is what reminds me of my connection to all things. I experience the sacred in watching children play, in the consolation a friend offers when I am grieving, and in the magic of nature. Oh, what a world indeed. I have come to realize, too, that I don't have to wait for the sacred to happen to me. I can choose to make this journey sacred. Sarah Blondin says, to make sacred means to hold your life as an exquisite masterpiece. Each moment blessed with the capability to bring your daily doings into the divine space and place of sacred hands by use of attention, small prayers, ritual, and ceremony. Making my life sacred breaks me out of the tendency to live on autopilot, allowing life to pass me by. Instead, this practice brings me into the present moment to experience fully the joys, challenges, and sorrows that life is offering. Making life sacred can be as simple as eating more slowly, focusing on each bite of food, savoring the flavors, and offering a prayer of gratitude for all the hands that made it possible for that nourishment being received. In fact, anytime we pause and offer gratitude, we acknowledge both what we hold dear and our connection to others. Making life sacred can also include drawing an oracle card on the new moon of each month. It's the new moon, so it's time for your new moon rituals. This is a personal divination ritual that not only helps me pay attention to and stay in tune with the cycles of nature, but also it offers me guidance and helps me set an intention for the new moon. I wonder what personal activities or rituals you already have in your life that could be considered sacred. Earlier, we spoke out loud the things we love. This, too, is a way of making life sacred. I offered the ritual as an antidote to the cycles of fear we can find ourselves in. I want to be clear that in no way am I encouraging a spiritual bypass of sorts, ignoring, suppressing, compartmentalizing difficult feelings by focusing solely on what brings joy. Quite the opposite, in fact. For most of us, it feels easier to stay in our rational mind. It feels easier to try to think our way out of challenging moments, literally rationalizing our feelings so that we don't have to actually experience them. We have forgotten how to sit in the raw and present moment to awaken the heart inside of us. If we are to make the fullness of life sacred, we must also have the courage to acknowledge and honor our hurt and pain. So, making life sacred may also look like planting our bare feet on the earth, grounding ourselves when anxiety and fear are overwhelming. Making life sacred is lighting a candle for a loved one who is dying, honoring our grief, saying we don't feel ready for this loss, and perhaps asking for help from someone or something outside of us. Making life sacred is remembering that we don't have to hold pain alone. In fact, as a Unitarian Universalist faith community, making life sacred is what we do. Every Sunday, we light the chalice to call us into sacred space. We do the movement prayer to embody our values. We lift our voices in singing to encourage our hearts and bring ourselves fully present. And we call out the names of loved ones hurting, reminding us that we need each other. In our small group ministry circles, we can bring our stories of woe, like the woman in the wisdom tale. And as we listen deeply to others, we hear the sacred wisdom and guidance of each other. And in our family chapels, we add an item to our family altar each month, helping to make our home sacred and to remind us to live our UU values every day. So, why make life sacred? What's the payoff? Sounds like a lot of work, Laura Beth. Well, for one, we are less likely to miss meaningful moments of joy when our intention is to honor and celebrate them. Also, it is more exhausting and soul-crushing to carry unresolved anger and sadness than it is to face it and let it move through. And from personal experience, I can tell you that our wounds can be our greatest gifts to the world. But ultimately, I make life sacred because I want to view the exquisite masterpiece. When seen up close with a narrow perspective. I can see the details that is the painting of my life with its beautiful colors, harsh brushstrokes, and even imperfections. It's not until I step back, though, that I see the full picture. Making life sacred, being totally present to what is real, can move us from restriction to expansion so that we can rise above and see with more perspective. And when we do this, our capacity to both give and receive love increases. Carl Sagan said, "For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love." Amen, and blessed be.